My name is Kathleen Musante. I won the Sheth Award in 2013. I was trained as a medical anthropologist and a nutritional anthropologist as a graduate student. But most of my work over my research career was focused on incorporating local concerns, understandings, and meanings into international and global food security and food policy. And I spent a lot of time during my research. I sometimes joke and say that I spent most of the time in my research in kitchens, sitting in kitchens, speaking with women, speaking with men about food and food security, and then translating those local understandings into the kinds of issues that agricultural researchers, nutritionists, health professionals, and food policy makers needed to know from my point of view in order to have responsive and appropriate and effective food security interventions. So that's most of what I did. And I often joke and say everything I know I learned in kitchens, from my grandmother's kitchen to the kitchens of the women that I spent hours and days and years with over time. By the way, I'm also teaching this semester, and I've taught as a part-time instructor a couple times since I retired. I'm teaching anthropology and global public health right now. The project, as I said, that we're tying up now, I conducted with two colleagues. One, this is a project that I was part of a larger project I was working on. I was in charge of doing the initial research for program planning, and then involved in the implementation and the evaluation of the impact of a women's food processing collective on their women's social power, social welfare, and the health and nutrition of their children. That was the original plan for the project. And my colleagues are another anthropologist who was hired in the second phase, the implementation phase, to oversee data collection through the project for its lifespan. And the third is now a PhD, basically rural sociologist with a specialty in gender, which I think is interesting because he's a man, but who clearly spent a lot of time with feminist anthropological researchers, because he started out as an agronomy student on this project doing his senior thesis. And so through the years, we've created built on very close relationships with the women in these collaboratives. We've also done research on communities without collaboratives to try to understand if the collaboratives themselves had an impact. But we've been in their kitchens for now very close to 35 years. And watching the impact of this program on their lives and on the lives of their families has been very, very interesting, because the benefits of the program itself, the most important benefits, were not the ones that were originally programmed. Yes, it did have an impact on women's social power, especially people who were very active in the collaboratives. But it also had an impact on the communities as a whole. It had an impact on the ability of women to create other kinds of opportunities for themselves. So it's an interesting story to tell. And I'm just waiting for one more chapter from a collaborator. I would tell you probably that it did not affect me personally in that way. I've struggled. I looked at this question, I struggled, and what I think it did, which is even more important, is it highlighted the work of not me, not just me, but all of the faculty who've been recognized and the alumni who've been recognized in a way that changed the environment in which we worked in the university. So did it have a particular impact on me? I would kind of say probably not. But it certainly had an impact on the University of Pittsburgh and the situation in which we've worked, the kinds of recognition that people get, not me personally or the honorees personally, but the understanding that part of our mission is to educate people broadly in global issues and international issues, and specifically to train that next generation of scholars and activists. And so I think that is the way in which it had an impact on me, was changing the environment. Opportunities to explore a broad range of knowledge, research activities, and activism at Pitt is among the best, and that exploring that is an excellent, is something that everyone should do. What I will say, trying to think through this a slight other way, you said global citizens, and in fact, when I was graduate dean, that was part of my mission in the dean's office, which was to slightly tweak our mission in arts and sciences to include the notion that everyone now is a global citizen, has to be a global citizen, not just an effective citizen, but an effective global citizen. And I think, frankly, I think Pitt does a really good job at that. There are many, many opportunities to pursue that, no matter what your other interests are, what kind of majors you're attracted to, what kind of careers you see for yourself. It is easy at Pitt to incorporate a better understanding of global issues into a wide variety of careers. I think easier at Pitt than it is at some other places. So remember, I came to Pitt in 1993. So I would definitely say yes. But the nature of that has shifted just a little bit, not a huge amount, but it's shifted a little bit. So yes, I think we fought like we were fighting in 93, and we don't feel like we have to fight anymore to make it clear that that is part of the University of Pittsburgh experience. Although Pitt was ahead of many other universities relatively early on. What I think I would say has shifted is there's somewhat less emphasis on the older models of area studies, and a much greater emphasis on the notion of integrated global issues, which I think is a good shift. I'm an area studies specialist. I will argue till you shovel me off into the grave that it's important to know a part of the world in depth, to understand the languages, to be able to read the literature, to be able to interact with scholars, but that the issues are all global, and that the shift at Pitt from when I came in 93 from embedded area studies programs to integration between the area studies programs and an emphasis on global issues, I think is very good. Dr. and Mrs. Sheth, I want to say that your recognition of faculty and alumni work that has global impact has been instrumental in both highlighting Pitt's strength in this area and has furthered the support of faculty who are or aspire to be leaders in addressing global issues. Perhaps more importantly, the recognition of alumni who demonstrated commitment and excellence in this area now serve as role models for the next generation of scholars and activists. Your role in the Sheth Awards has made that possible and has furthered those goals.